in requisition entry, we are going to find that all of your fields should be identical. I come into this program a lot and not a lot has changed other than your display. This may be your first time seeing this, so I'm just going to give you guys a second for your eyes to adjust. One of the biggest changes you're going to notice is the ribbon at the top. Before, your ribbon was kind of multi-rowed. You might have like 3 rows of just little tiny icons. They were sometimes hard to read, sometimes difficult. For example, you might have a button in your ribbon that's grayed out and you are wondering why you can't click it. We did away with that. Now we have this really straight line, flat out ribbon where everything is in its own spot. Everything goes in order. If it doesn't work, so sometimes you'd have like an audit option or an add option in a program that's shown that was grayed out, we don't show it. So everything in this ribbon should be functioning and usable. If it isn't, we wouldn't have it in your ribbon. They typically start out the same: search, browse, add, update, delete, all of your output methods. And then over here you have your action icons, which change from program to program. As far as requisitions look, most of these should look fairly familiar.
And then, Mindy, depending on permissions, you will have more or less buttons.
Definitely. Right. So we are logged in as Munis today, so keep in mind you're going to be seeing a lot extra. If there's anything interesting that you see today that you think you should have, you can make your plea to IT as to why you need that added. But if not, it just might look a little bit different. Awesome. So we're going to go in and add a quick requisition. I am going to just go in and click my add option. I'm going to fill this out with some of the information that's been given to me. Same as before, our department and fiscal year are going to pull in automatically, as well as our requisition number. If you guys are using commodity codes, I could put in a commodity code. If not, I'm just going to jump down to description. And then today I'm going to pretend that we are just buying some paper. Then we have our needed by date. You're welcome to put that you need the product by Friday the 11th, but that doesn't mean anything in real life. The product still might not come in by then. All right, we're going to use the vendor WB Mason quite a bit today. They're going to be our go-to people. Once we put in our vendor number, just like before, all of our information is going to pull in automatically. You can update the addresses if you need to, as well as the remits. So if this vendor has a different remit address that you need to use, there's this little box for remit. And essentially what a remit address is it's a different location for that vendor. So if you're not quite familiar with what they have, you can clear this out and click on the ellipses, and then it will show you all of their remit addresses. So they're going to look very, very similar. Just you'll notice different addresses have different PO boxes or physical locations, as well as the cities in the state. So if you need to change that, this is where you would change your remits. So typically with a remit address, that is where the check is going to be mailed to. The remit will carry over when you're entering things like your invoices and your checks. That remit address carries over onto the check. So wherever the check needs to be mailed to, you're going to want to make sure your remit address matches. Awesome. People that are using the private chat box probably feel like celebrities because they just put something in that chat box and then I randomly start talking about it in fine detail. So if you want to feel like a celebrity and ask questions in the chat box, I can answer them for you. All right, and it looks like while I was talking about the remits, we did tab through, so it brought us into the line items page. This should look very familiar to you guys. We can put in quantity. Maybe we're buying 5 cases of paper. I'm not sure if you guys tend to use quantity and amounts or PO receiving, but I'm going to pretend that you do. Another description. Not sure how much a case of paper costs, but I'm going to assume it's like $15. So it's going to take my 5 times 15 and give me a total cost of my rec. That's going to be $75. I can keep tabbing down through. If you guys use any of these fields, you're welcome to go through and change them. I know a lot of people don't use a lot of these, so I'm going to keep tabbing. All right, and then we're going to come down here. Our org does default in automatically for us. And then I'm going to go find you guys an object code.
And does everyone know that if you want to do the search, you click on the 3 dots, the ellipsis, and it's a help. So it'll bring up whatever data is within that field.
Definitely. All right, so I'm going to click accept. It's going to save my line item. If I had to add more than one line item, maybe I had different GL accounts, or maybe I was buying some pencils in addition to the paper, I could click on add and it would give me a second line on my requisition. But for now, I'm going to back out. We're going to go back to that home page. On the home page, we're going to see the header information that we filled in at the top, as well as the detail information down below, which is our account, our quantity, and amount. If you need to go back in and edit that information, you're welcome to click on line items, and you can go back in and change that up. If you need to delete this out and add a new one, you can. If you need to add it into the requisition, you can do that as well. I'm assuming you guys are required to attach in attachments before you release it for workflow. So that's going to look the same. We still have our attachment icon. I can't go through and add an attachment just because we are in test and it's turned off in test, but that process is the same if you normally add in attachments at this point.